My next guest has spent more than 3 decades studying people's relationships with technology. Her conclusion, we really need to put down our phone and talk. That's also the main premise of her new book, Reclaiming Conversation. Author Sherry Turkle is a psychologist, founder and head of the MIT Initiative on Technology and Self. Sherry, it's good to see you again.
Pleasure to be here.
So what all the world wants to know is, do you ever engage in phubbing? That's what people want to know.
No, I don't know how.
What is phubbing?
Phubbing is, let's say we're talking, and I make eye contact with you, but the whole time I'm doing this, under the table, I'm sending text messages.
And you never do that?
No, I don't. I can't. Because kids learn to do it when they get phones in middle school and they want to text during class, and that's basically the moment when you learn this skill. And I was just...
So you aged out of it.
I aged out of it, yeah.
How widespread is this problem? Are you blowing something into greater proportion than it deserves? How widespread is this obsession, this omnipresence of the phone?
It's there. I mean, 89% of Americans say, in the last Pew study, which is the organization that studies our digital life, 89% of Americans say that in their last conversation, they took out a phone. And 82% say that it diminished the conversation.
So
my premise is we're doing something that we don't feel good about and that we know is diminishing our contact with each other.
So that's the bottom line. So it's essentially, it's a barrier, you say, between us having a... How about multitasking? Some of us, believe we can multitask. You don't buy it.
Well, it's not true. Research shows that, in fact, multitasking is a myth. Your brain can't do it, but multitasking is a vicious thing and a kind of scary thing, because for every task you add, you feel like you're doing better and better at every task, whereas in fact, your performance deteriorates for every task you add as you add a task.
Have you been watching me work? It sounds
I've studied this for years. So we do more and more, and in fact accomplish less and less, but feel that we're doing better and better.
I feel more efficient. I'm not more efficient?
No, you're less and less efficient. So for a lot of these things, we have to really understand our vulnerability. Multitasking is a great example of where you have to understand that you're vulnerable. Your brain is playing tricks on you, and you have to correct.
You know, this is a great book, by the way, and I see myself far too often in this, as I assume most readers do. But you know, you go, I would say, I don't know if it's an extreme, you go to the extent of saying, it's not just your phone is sitting, well, actually, your position is just having this here creates a barrier between, I'm not looking at it, I'm not doing anything with it, don't touch my phone,
No,
please.
as a matter of fact, I go further than that.
What is it?
I'm saying that a phone that's off and turned over, the research shows that if we were having lunch and that phone was on the table, turned over and turned off, would change the conversation in 2 ways. The first way is that we would talk about more trivial things where we sort of wouldn't mind being interrupted. And secondly, we would feel less of an empathic connection to each other.
You know, speaking of empathic connection, the empathic connection that matters most is parent to kid, I assume. And I have seen in playgrounds when my kids were young, I am totally with you. This is the worst barrier between, what damage does that do in your estimation?
It's doing a lot of damage.
How so?
Because we find, first of all, let's just define the problem. You're in a playground and your kid is screaming, look at me, I'm on the jungle gym, I'm on the swing, and parents are literally doing their email. And what you see is that the children grow up after tugging at sleeves for years and years. They sort of decide that it's not going to happen with their parents.
But did we ever talk? Did we ever have these conversations before this was invented?
There's a difference. You know, I'm not arguing for a golden age of conversation. What's new is that people always feel that everyone's attention is divided. And that is genuinely new.
Can I tell you something? While you're talking, I'm embarrassed to admit this. I am literally, even though it's a prop, it's my phone, I am literally conscious of almost turning my head and looking at my phone. Let me, personal, I get it, and I am with you, even though I am a perpetrator in terms of... No, I am. But how about in a work setting? I mean, I've got my phone on my desk all the time. Is damaging there?
Well, it turns out that conversation is good for the bottom line at work. And all the studies show that if you let people have a certain kind of conversation, the kind that phones don't interrupt, if you create places in work that are device-free, you will be more productive, more collaborative.
Like the proverbial water cooler.
Like the water cooler.
Okay,
that had a lot,
so Jonathan
made a lot of sense.
Franzen, front page New York Times book
Yes.
review. Look at the smile on her face. Front page says it is a sophisticated self-help book.
Yes.
So give me 2 tips, or give them 2 tips at home quickly if you can, about how to free yourself from this anchor.
Accept your vulnerability and design for conversation. That means make a kind of sacred space, a device-free space.
Like in your house?
Kitchen, dining room, car. It's the best thing you can do for your family, for intimacy, for empathy, for your life.
One more. Give me one more.
One more?
One more tip. You're a sophisticated self-help book author. I read it in the New York Times.
One more tip. I would say, don't... Your phone is ringing.
This is the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me. It is literally vibrating.
I'm going to get another tip. Your tip, okay. Another tip is, don't fear at work the immediacy of a face-to-face conversation. People are finding ways around it, because as one person said to me, when I said, well, what's wrong with conversation? He said, I'll tell you what's wrong with conversation. It takes place in real time, and you can't control what you're going to say. Don't try to be perfect. Chill out. Allow yourself to be imperfect, and allow yourself, like you just allowed yourself to be imperfect. Be imperfect and be who you are.
We're out of time, but I'll text you later. Is that okay?
Text me later.
Sherry Turkle, your book is great. Thanks so much. It's great to see you.